Hello again, everyone. I hope you're doing well. This video, I will be discussing Chapter 2 from the New Jim Crow that focuses on a more in-depth look at the war on drugs and the profound impact on mass incarceration of BIPOC in the United States. Since the 1980s, drug offenses have driven the growth of prison population more than any other factor. In fact, between 1985 and 2000, drug offenses accounted for 2/3 of the rise in federal prison populations, and over 31 million people have been arrested for drug offenses since this war began. Another thing I want to highlight is the myths and truths about war on drugs. One of the biggest ones is that it primarily targets major drug pens or drug dealers, and another myth is the focus on dangerous drugs. However, the reality is much different. From 1980 to 2000, the prison population exploded from 300,000 to over 2 million people. By 2007, that number reached 7 million, including those on probation and parole. The war on drugs has disproportionately impacted communities of color, even though it was not limited to so-called serious drugs or high-level dealers. Another thing I want to discuss is the Fourth Amendment rights on and the war on drugs and their relationship. The war on drugs has taken many steps to demolish the Fourth Amendment rights, which protect against any unreasonable searches and seizures. But the Supreme Court played a role in this erosion, giving law enforcement more discretionary power. For instance, Terry versus Ohio, the court introduced a stop and frisk policy, allowing officers to stop and search people based on suspicion, which disproportionately affected BIPOC communities. This shift was accelerated during the war on drugs with pretext stops, which allowed officers to use minor traffic violations as an excuse to pull someone over and search for drugs, and consent searches, where individuals felt pressured to allow a search and became a widespread tactic. Another thing I want to discuss is the Operation Pipeline and military cooperation with law enforcement, pardon me, which trained local police to use minor traffic stops to search for drugs. Officers were encouraged to stop large numbers of people, leading to racial profiling with an obvious 95% failure rate in finding any drugs. Additionally, the Military Cooperation with Law Enforcement Act of 1981 gave local police access to military equipment and SWAT team deployments for drug raids with devastating consequences for innocent families. Lastly, I do want to point out is the war on drugs also ushered in many mandatory minimum sentencing laws, leading to extremely harsh penalties for minor drug offenses. Civil forfeiture laws also allowed police to seize any property from individuals, even without conviction, and using those funds to support their own education of this manner to police districts, which is absolutely crazy. I learned a lot that I did not know from this chapter, and I'm eager to see what the rest of you guys thought was interesting and what else we are going to learn in the future.